All right. Looks like we're live with another episode of Buff 'em Updates. Buff 'em Updates with myself, Big Dog Chico, my main man Adam Munsterteiger. What's happening, Adam? How you doing?
Doing well. It's been a while since we last caught up and trying to work this into our schedules, and I'm glad we finally got connected. It has made me think in the last few weeks. I can't imagine being in Hawaii how difficult this is to coordinate everything. Like, what time of the morning are you getting up on a regular basis to be able to
Oh
handle
man.
all your responsibilities?
Usually a good 5:30. I'm getting up. So it's not so bad, you know. So we did do the pro day, which I got have to ask you about also. You were there. We were able to do the pro day, which I had to get up like 3:30 because of the early start. And so we were on mic and live at 5 a.m. my time. So that was a little
Wow.
bit different. And we went for 5.5 hours. So yeah, a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm here for it.
And you've got to deal with like games kicking off, tipping off sometimes like in the afternoon. How do folks on the islands deal with that? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
it's pretty crazy, especially like for Monday night football, Thursday night football, things like that. Comes on usually 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So a lot of times people are still at work when those live games are coming on. So they actually do a replay at like the prime
Okay.
time. So they could
Okay.
do a replay. So, but with that used to work. I would imagine that used to work back in the day. But now with social media, by the time if you're a real football fan, by the time you get home, you know the end of the score because you can look on your phone. So it's a little bit different nowadays, I'd imagine. But it all works out.
Well, good for you. I never know when to text you because I'm like I would assume you're used to people on the mainland texting you, and you kind of have that down to a point where it's not going to wake you up, right? Hopefully,
Right, right. I'll get to that in the morning, or
there you go. There you go.
and like you got a text from me last night, and I'm sure you were knocked out.
I
And
was
I was
I
like,
was out,
dang.
man. 2 o'clock. Come on, that's children games right there. I
Yeah,
can't deal with
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely you send text sometimes where you definitely know that you're not going to get a response until about 4 or 5 hours later. So, no worries, no worries. But how are things there in Colorado? How's the weather right now? I heard it's damn near 80 degrees today.
Ooh, it's beautiful. We had because Colorado is not having a spring practice today. There's no
Hmm.
pro timing day, so it was a day to kind of catch up a little bit at home. And yeah, I opened up the side door to our backyard, and our kitchen table's right there, and I just enjoyed opening that, kind of feeling that spring warmth come in.
Oh
And
man, that's
it's
right.
time for Mother Nature to come through for us on the spring game. So I all eyes on her right now. We've got less than 2 weeks till then. The forecast is really nice in Colorado leading up to that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to anti
No, the
jinx it
first
by
year
like
what?
saying that
First year was snow. Last year
snow.
was a little slushy. So maybe
And
you'll
and
get
last year was worse. It was like the
yeah.
cold rain. I
Hmm.
would take slow falling snow over cold rain every day of the week, twice on
Yeah.
Sundays. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you get your feet wet, and now you got your socks wet, shoes wet, you're gonna be soaked for the rest of the day. So that's a different feeling than just the snow. But let's get to some Colorado football once again. That's what we're here for. And I guess we can start here. I made a couple little graphics. So we can start here with what last place I think I saw you at, which was the pro day. Shador Sanders and crew out there doing their thing for pro day, man. From your perspective, you were there. How was it? What did you take from the whole thing, from the setup to the way it was set up? I'm sure you've seen many, in the past. How was this one? And then we'll get to the guys' performance.
First off, you got to start out with Curtis Snyder and his staff. They did a great job of coordinating everything. I know that you and Neely and Philip Dukes went like 5 hours plus on the air. You got a bunch of interviews. There was NFL Network in the area, kind of right to the right of where Neely was sitting, and to
Hmm.
the left of you guys was where the rest of the media was getting our interviews. And I mean,
Yeah.
they did a great job. It was really well organized. It might have taken some years off Curtis Snyder's life because it was a lot. I mean, it was 10 times of what anything we've seen from a pro timing day at Colorado. And
Yeah.
but it's still a pro timing day. So there's really boring lulls within that.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you felt that on the live broadcast, like that you got to fill that air while you're kind of between these segments of things. But Will Shepherd, watching him do the vertical leap was one of those things you'll remember for a long time. Watching Shador run the 2-minute drill at the very end of the throwing portion of it, and you've got 4 NFL draft worthy receivers, including Travis Hunter in that mix out there. And you've got Traylon Miller coming out of the backfield looking like he's a guy that should get drafted later this month. So there were some really good moments from that. I still, though, I challenge because I'm challenged because I enjoy covering that event, and then you go home and then everybody's talking about how a couple of passes wobbled on Shador. And I'm like, I don't know. I was there. He was on point. It looked good. It's just, I'm kind of sick of the nitpicking, kind of this drama that goes around with Shador, which obviously he doesn't deserve. And so that part of it I don't enjoy, but actually being there in person, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I would say let's go to some of the players. We had damn near every team. I would say every team there, represented, some with multiple scouts and representatives or owners. Saw a couple of owners. At least one. The Cleveland Browns owner was there. I know for sure. But they all won't have a chance to draft Shador Travis, so they must have been there looking at some of the other guys also. B.J. Green standing out. Cameron Simmons, Craig Shiloh doing his thing. Who are some of the guys that helped themselves, for the upcoming NFL draft process?
Yeah, I would start with BJ Green. I think his tenacity and what he even showed at Big 12 Pro Timing Day is just something that an NFL scout is going to fall in love with. This young man's just tenacity. Came into Arizona State as a walk-on, worked his way up to being their best pass rusher, comes to Colorado, second team all-conference guy his senior year. And yeah, there's a point you get to in a draft where you've kind of taken those guys with the unquestionable measurables that I know this guy is going to make the fan base excited because they're going to see this picture or kind of see their combine results. You get past that point, BJ Green's got to be pretty high on that list in terms of his just motor. This is a guy that's going to come into your program and push people. I mentioned on Pro Timing Day, I don't know if Shane Coates gets drafted. Probably not. And I hope I'm wrong there. I hope he is drafted. But he's a guy that would be a great practice squad player in the NFL for a very, very long time. Jimmy Horn Jr. improving his 40-yard dash time. Shiloh ran faster than we expected. Mark Bassett ran faster than I think anybody expected. That was pretty cool. So those were kind of the main things that stood out. I got a chance to meet LeJontay Wester's agent, and I was like telling him, like, y'all got to figure out how to get like LeJontay's short area quickness in some kind of testing event, because that's where it's at with him. And I gushed over the Hail Mary catch because I still, every time I see that, I'm like, how the hell did he do that? Like,
That's
just
live
the
on
timing
forever,
of it.
right?
Yeah, it will. And that's what I told him. I said, around these parts, your client is going to be known for forever. Yeah.
Nice. So those wide receivers did their thing. Shador Sanders still, I think one visit was canceled as far as the Titans go, but he was scheduled from what I'm seeing online with the Steelers. Coach Prime on record saying, I like these colors. That could have been the Saints or the Steelers. Where do you see the best fit for Shador Sanders in the NFL draft?
This is kind of out of my comfort zone. I'll admit that. Like, Colorado's had some first round picks in the past, but like I am usually covering high school football Thursday, Friday, Saturday is CU, Sunday traveling back from wherever I'm at. So I don't follow the NFL all that closely. You hear Cleveland Browns and you kind of gasp a little bit because just the history of that franchise, I think. Just seeing Shador Sanders throw passes in New York when he was out there for Travis's Heisman ceremony kind of gave some foreshadowing. I don't know if that's going to happen with where they're going, but I really don't care. Count me in as somebody that can tune in on a Sunday and try to cheer for Shador once he gets off to the NFL. But I really have no idea. The part of it, this whole process has kind of turned me off even more to the NFL. Just the nitpicking that goes on. Like the second I heard that Shador Sanders is not an accurate passer, I just wanted to eject out of the whole thing and just be gone. But here we are. He's going to get drafted in a couple weeks, and I am looking forward to that part of it. I asked Shador what's draft night going to be like at his house, and good on him. He didn't share too many details, but he did say it was going to be epic. So I can't wait to see the images from his house.
It's going to be legendary.
April 25th, right? I think is the first round. Yeah.
That Thursday night. Yeah, we'll have to look at the calendar, but I think it is in less than about 16, 17 days coming up real fast. So we'll get to that. We'll talk more about the draft, and let's go to our next subject right here. We're gonna move right along. We're gonna go to the new coaches impact one time. Got Coach Swayze, Coach Marshall Falk, Coach Domata Peko, and had a couple of other guys added to the staff also. But let's go to these three main guys with the strength and conditioning, running backs, and the defensive line. From your vantage point, from your perspective, right there in Boulder, where it's colder, where you've been getting busy, what have these guys brought to the Colorado Buffaloes, and how much of an impact have they made, and will they be making, in your opinion?
Well, I think you got to start with Andrew Swayze because we're coming off that Pro Timing Day talk of he's a guy that has been involved with professional athletes, trying to get them to their best. And, Shiloh, one of the scouts had him in a 4.4. Like, I think it's not that Shiloh couldn't have gotten better with some other tutelage, but I feel like Andrew Swayze did a good job of preparing him for that event. In terms of Peko, I mean, this is a guy that takes over a great situation in Boulder. They've got probably the best, most talented, deepest group on this entire team, a group that should perform pretty well. You talk 10 practices in. I think his energy has stood out. Just he's a guy that gets pretty fired up and is somebody that players have responded to so far. But it's so early in his tenure. It's hard to say. With Marshall Falk, I saw Scott Proctor broke the news that Isaiah Augustave is no longer in Colorado's program. And I'm sure Scott wish he could have cut his teeth with some different breaking news in his time there with DNVR. But, I have no doubt that Marshall Falk will find somebody that's going to be able to do a good job in that running backs room when he gets to fall camp. And I really enjoyed watching him. There was a time earlier this spring, Chico, where Warren Sapp talked to us, left the room. Like 5 minutes later, Marshall Falk came back into the press conference room looking for something. And it was like, where else in the world can you have two Hall of Famers just kind of mulling around? And that doesn't even include the head coach, or you had Champ Bailey on campus this past weekend. So, I mean, it's been pretty cool to see just kind of his influence on this stuff. I'm not worried about running back with Marshall Falk and Boulder. That group's going to get better this year, I think.
Yes. I love how he's so detailed in the blocking and, the just positioning your body and blocking, because that is huge in the pass protection and keeping your quarterback upright. So I'm excited to see that. And Coach Peko and what he can bring to that defensive, those nose tackles and, those defensive linemen up front. Man, I'm excited with that too, man. Same type of fiery type attitude as Coach D. Lou had, but I think he's going to be preaching more also on the discipline side too, because the defensive linemen were the most penalized position group on the team last year. So if he can get a hold on that, along with Coach Sapp and Coach Hilo, just have those guys a little bit more discipline on that defensive line, that'll keep us from being the most penalized team in the Big 12 or in college football. Also, you don't want to be in that bottom tier. So I think what he's bringing, that starts in the weight room also with Coach Swayze, and with all of his experience coming from Miami. And I think it starts there, doing the things that you're supposed to do there, putting on the right attire when you're there in the weight room, and completing your assignments. All of those things translate into on the field. So I think that there's going to be a big emphasis on the discipline part of the ball game also with these new coaches with the Buffs. And that takes me right here to the quarterback battle. Case Salter, Juju Lewis. What are you seeing? What are you thinking? What's your outlook on this quarterback battle?
I mean, I think the thing that separates these two guys is that Caden Salter has started a lot of football games at the college level, and Julian Lewis is in his first spring. That's the thing that's separating them right now. And it has made sense all along that the expectation is for this quarterback battle to go into preseason camp. You got to give it a couple weeks. You got to give Julian Lewis that ability to get to the spring game, assess what he did wrong, what he did right, kind of build on those things that he did wrong. Try to go through that first summer and kind of build some more of that experience. And then you get into your first camp at Colorado. And if those things have translated and he's close to Caden Salter, that's a really, really tough decision, because if there's not a lot separating them, I've always said maybe the tie should go to youth, right? Because you want to develop that. They're not there yet, though. I think Caden Salter has got kind of that RPO experience, heavy ability that it's hard to turn away from that, especially given how many games he's not only started but won at the college level. So
yeah,
I'm going to go with that with Salter until Julian tells otherwise. But I also think it would be a mistake to name a starter, before you get 2 weeks into camp, because you want to see how Julian can respond to that. And if he does a great job of doing that, and there's been glimpses, kind of like Omari and Miller, where you're like, this kid's going to be really good someday, but you just want to see that consistency a little bit more often.
Absolutely. I think Salter is his job. And you hear this say it so much, and when quarterback battle, it's his job to lose. But I think it truly is his job to lose with the experience that he has. He knows what to expect. He should know what to expect. And I think he's coming in with the mindset of leading this team, like he said, to a Big 12 championship, and at least to compete for one. I think he's serious about that. And with the more experience, just being a more mature person, I think he should be able to get a hold on his playbook faster than you would expect him to get a hold on the playbook faster than a young guy, a freshman like Julian Lewis. But this guy, from what I've heard, is like a phenom as far as understanding the playbook at a young age and being able to go out there and execute it from the classroom to the field. So, like you said, it could actually go down to that August camp time to where we'll actually really find out who the starter will be. Until then, I think it's a good thing to keep that competition open. And I think Case Salter should come out on top to win this job, and then let the play on the field kind of, see, decide the direction of how it's going to go throughout the season. Because if he starts off strong and continues throughout the season, then maybe we won't see Julian at all. But if he kind of, phase off or a little bit, or start throwing the interceptions or turning the ball over, then you must bring in a young guy like Julian Lewis, who I'm sure will be performing strong at practice and stuff like that. So we'll see. If he's winning, he stays in, and you can keep Juju for the next season, and we'll go from there. But anything else you want to add on that, Adam, before we go?
Well, I would say it reminds me of when you start driving, right? There's like this timing when you're turning left out of an intersection, or you're pulling into a parking spot. You have a better feel for timing and things, and that's something that only comes with experience.
Yeah.
But if it's close, if Julian Lewis is close, you want to build on the future. But yeah, Caden Salter has made so many plays at the college level, and Colorado fans are hungry after that 9-win season to, get back to a non-Alamo Bowl game.
Right.
I think we've had enough. I love San Antonio. Yeah, watching the Final Four down there was like, I love that place and I hate that place at the same time. I don't know what to tell you.
Charles Barkley, I was surprised he shows his face down there in public, and he gets on stage and says what he says. It is some big women down here in San Antonio. I ain't lying. So
That was pre-Chuck trying the churro, and he's changed his tune, I think, since then.
He's loving those Euro. He's like, all right. Last subject, you kind of mentioned it earlier with Isaiah Augustave not being a part of the program anymore, based off some tweets that was put out there. And then if you look in the comment section under our show this morning from the morning run, where we had Arden Walker and Rob Livingston on, there was a comment from a subscriber asking where is Isaiah Augustave, and then you see Uncle Neely chiming in right there, responding to that, saying he's no longer with the program. So the official word is out with number 23, Isaiah Augustave. He is out of the fold as far as Colorado. The leading rusher for the team last year was projected to be the starter this year. What's your thoughts on Isaiah Augustave headed into the transfer portal?
I'm a big fan, just like I was a big fan of Dylan Edwards last year. And then you kind of pull back, look at the big picture. There's two ways to look at this, right? Like the individual player. And I would have liked to see what Isaiah Augustave could have done playing in a heavy RPO game with maybe Caden Salter as your starting quarterback. And I thought he would have had a lot of success. But it didn't work out, and maybe we'll get some comments from the coaching staff in terms of why that didn't work out. It feels like running back and tight end have been the two positions where they brought in guys with resumes. Running back makes a little bit more sense. You've brought in some guys that have some injuries, in the past, like an Alton McCaskill, the fourth. But in tight end with Sam Hart kind of coming back from an injury. But yeah, you don't want to lose him to the portal, but I would imagine that Marshall Falk has something cooking up his sleeve. And so it's one of those things that you kind of mourn the loss of Augustave because he showed some flashes. He's a talented back. He did put the ball on the ground at Colorado State, said he was never going to do that again. Came back, had strong moments in that 2024 season. Still needed to improve a little bit in pass protection, but was very talented. And so, it's one of those things. This staff has made really tough decisions, and they've seemed to make it, whether it's on the coaching side or the personnel side, seem to make upgrades there. So, it's tough, Chico, in this position. You need to have a strong take and just be like, this is the end of the world. The sky is falling, or it doesn't matter at all. I'm kind of in the middle on this. You would like to have Isaiah Augustave, I think, in the program, but it didn't work out. So what you got to do is find a good running back in the portal. And I think safety, you got to find a player in the portal. The portal opens April 15th, a week from when we're talking right now. So
nice.
We'll see what that looks like. In the past, Colorado has improved itself every transfer portal window. And that'll be the goal again this year. And running back is now a position that you got to fill.
Yep. With the guys that's there, though, I'm Brandon B. Hood. You have Dalen Hayden and Michael Welch. I'm excited about all three of those guys. Hayden coming back, being healthy, 100% healthy this year. Came into Ohio State highly touted and with high expectations. So I'm looking forward to what he can bring. And in that RPO type system, also, I think that's his type of game. Michael Welch can run the ball out of that formation also, along with Hood, who I think is going to get a lot of opportunities this year with his power and speed that he can run with. So maybe Augustus probably saw that on the board, or maybe, what I really think happened is probably like these teams, like you said, a week from today, the portal opens. So if you guys are not thinking that these teams out there with the big money and big bags are not looking to poach players from different programs, then, you're crazy. That's the nature of college football these days. That's what they're doing. It's wide open, wild west legal tampering, I think, is what's going on. So that's why you have guys like this who are looking to be a projected starter, all of a sudden saying, maybe I want to go to the transfer portal, and then you see them end up somewhere else. I guarantee you a week or 2 weeks from now, we're going to see some pop up that Augustave or any other guy who transfers from a program where they're looking at to be the starter and they're going somewhere else. to probably a power 4 program nowadays, or SEC school nowadays, I would guarantee you that it's probably a bag attached to that. And that's why they're foregoing this opportunity to try to go cash in right now. So we'll see how it plays out, though. But I think that's the nature of college football these days.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason that Kyle Green and Jalen Hayes are not in their program, right? So yeah, there's definitely that part of it, and I'm fortunate. And it stinks because it's like a day after the NCAA championship game in basketball, where that whole Final Four was just unbelievable. It kind of makes you forget about all this NIL stuff and the portal and all that kind of negativity that's surrounding college athletics right now. But it's still there, unfortunately.
And then right after that, it pops right back up because you see teams that was right there playing. Some guys, some players like the women's teams, girls or young ladies are transferring out. Some are already transferring into South Carolina. So these things happen pretty fast nowadays. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to be okay at running back, I would think. You just got to have patience. And I hate telling Colorado fans that because, that doesn't make money for us, Chico. It's like, just wait and see. Just wait and see. Like, that's not a good strategy for content. But they're going to bring somebody in. They're not going to go into camp with the backs that are on the roster right now. I will say confidently.
And with a guy like Marshall Faulk now, the running backs coach, you can think that there are running backs out there that are looking and saying, I want to go see if I can go play for Marshall Faulk. I want to go learn from Marshall Faulk. And I'm sure Marshall Faulk has his eye on someone that's fitting the mold of what he's thinking of recruiting and the type of guy that should be in his room also, because he's inherited these guys. Shout out to Charlie Offerdahl also. That's 4 running backs I think that are capable to produce this season for the Buffs. And the next guy I think that they'll bring in will be a Marshall type guy. I think where he can take his pick and say, I like this guy, I like what he does, I like what he could bring. He's my style of player. So we'll look forward, much success and luck and praise and everything to Isaiah Augustave, but even more to the running backs that are still in that room.
I think he will have success too. I think he's a talented back.
Yeah,
I really do hope it works out for him. Kind of like Dylan Edwards, it was a little bit tougher because Kansas State's in the same conference as Colorado. But you still, there was a part of you that remembered that TCU game, and it's like, okay, good for you, Dylan. Kind of in the back of your mind a little bit.
Yeah, and like Coach Prime said, we're looking for guys to go, and we're not trying to hold anyone back. We want you guys to go and elevate. However that is in your minds. If you define it as going to get a bag or going to get a better opportunity, then go do your thing. We're not trying to hold you back. But at the same time, we're not trying to hold you guys any longer also. We came here for a good half-hour discussion, myself and Adam Munsterteiger, right here on Buffum Updates on, I almost said the pregame network, but we're actually on BiggDogg Chico's channel right now. As we've been doing so much stuff. But shout out to Uncle Neely and the pregame network. Shout out to give some shout outs. Give some shout outs, Adam.
I'm going to give a shout out to you, Chico. We finally got this done. You guys did a 5-hour live during Pro Time Day. I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of work that goes into something like that. So that's where my shout out is to you, man.
Oh, man.
That's pretty impressive. You said you got up at 5:30 last
3:30.
Friday?
We were on air at 5.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Oh, man. So good for you, man. That's where my shout out is.
I appreciate it. Hey, much more to come right here. Buffum Updates, myself and Big Adam. This is what we do, man. We're going to bring them to you live and direct each and every week. All right? Until next time, at least we're going to try to do each and every week. We're going to have to commit to that and make sure we bring it. I think it's more on my end.
We'll try. We're busy people, but
very busy.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, Buffum Updates. Yeah.